Luminosity here. I'm just doing a little drop-in to celebrate our ceremonies that we all did on the 4th of July, our Free and Sovereign, or Sovereign and Free event that we invited people to come to celebrate by standing in PowerPoints on the grids, the locations of the churches and the temples and the synagogues and spiritual religious structures on the grids. And so a lot of people participated, getting lots of messages, lots of pictures from the fam of the grid ceremonies. Really, really powerful, really profound to hear the experiences that people have been sharing that they had on the grids. And it was a powerful day for myself as well. My dear friend Universal Love and I went out and we did ceremonies on a lot of churches and spiritual religious locations. And one of the things we discovered is that every building we went to that was on the map, when we put churches into the GPS, every single building was boarded up, gates locked, buildings vacated. So a very clear sign for humanity that there is no middleman between us and our creation, and that it's really our miracle, our time to step into powerful internal and external creation. So 2020 was really about going inward to resolve the polarity inside of the self, to unleash and unlock that creative potential, that pure, raw, creative potential that exists inside of each one of us. And so it's not something we can do from the mind. It happens from that unification that occurs within us. And so we just felt to share a little bit about the game, the real name of the game that we are all playing. And up until recently, it kind of looked like there was external power outside of the self, but that's really never been the case. It's about finding that power inside of the self by, of course, doing our internal work and using our reactions or responses to our external reality to find more of that power inside of us, more of that light inside of us, by learning to hold coherence, 0 point, and neutrality. And so I was having a lovely walk here and just felt to share a little bit about the game that we are playing as spirit inside of a human consciousness with a structure inside of us called DNA. And so inside of the DNA is like a structure that holds light and responds to harmonics inside of the structure. And so when we allow 0 point to flood our bodies by holding coherence, that DNA opens more and it advances the capacity of the physical body to transform from carbon to silica. And so inside of the DNA, Richard Rudd did such a good job of modernizing our understanding of the DNA and what's going on inside of the DNA in the game that we're playing by writing the gene keys, which is kind of like a modern day version of the I Ching. So inside of the game that each individual sovereign pure source consciousness is playing inside of a human body is a game with the DNA. And of course, this wasn't teachings in school in grade 1 and so on. And so now we have the capacity to really get a deeper understanding of what we are doing here. Now that a lot of external distraction is gone, a lot of that external distraction was the belief of the external authority and external systems. And so people were basically just trying to get by in the system, and that required a lot of energy. If this love stream is inspiring, please share it. That's called gifting. And so now that a lot of those distractions are leaving, see, in the DNA there are 3 stop codons to 1 graduating or breaking free of the lower vibration and energy being stuck inside of the physical human body at a limited capacity of activating the physical body. It's like Bob Marley, said in his song, "Preacher man, don't tell me that heaven is under the earth," because heaven is really inside of our body. And for what it is really worth, as Bob Marley would say, it is to understand how to unlock, as Richard Rudd said, the purpose inside of our DNA, how to unlock our DNA. And so that's much more accessible for us now, because all of the distractions are beginning to fall away, because the old systems of external authority are dissolving away, and that's becoming very clear. Like we said yesterday on the Day of Independence, of inviting people to declare our sovereignty upon the grids, we discovered that all of the churches are boarded up and empty, and we and Universal Love went to probably at least 15 different locations on the map. And so that would be, hi, my gosh, are you a puppy?
Yes.
You want to be on my,
Sweet months old.
Oh my gosh, what's your name?
Hakuna Matata.
Gorgeous. Aloha. Pure bliss. Puppy bliss. Okay, we're walking across a big street. We better watch where we're going. So, back to the DNA and really understanding the game that we're playing. Yeah, as Richard said, the Gene Keys is about unlocking the purpose hidden within our DNA. And so if this was taught in grade 1, we would know how to play the game. And this is why we are sharing this love stream today. Because the external reality that we were all collectively giving our consent to outside of ourselves, like there was a middle man or some kind of structure that was more powerful than us. Ooh. Guys on their skateboards doing some big moves in front of cars. Fun. So it was not taught to us in grade 1 how to play the game, how to improve ourselves inside of our DNA, to activate our DNA. There are 3 stop codons in the DNA that will stop one from accelerating higher consciousness inside of their DNA. And Richard has given them 3 words, just like the I Ching gives them words as well. But the 3 words that Richard gave them are forgetfulness, distraction, and vanity. And so forgetfulness is that we keep doing the same things over and over again. And that is a shadow frequency. We don't remember that we've made the same mistake over and over. So to paraphrase, he kind of says that if we knew how many times we had, played out the same story over and over, these aren't his words, but we'll say we would drop to our knees and pray for some assistance to rise up higher. In the street. Okay. So that's the first stop codon. Second stop codon is distraction. And so when the world that we are living in requires us to do so many things to, quotation marks, fit in, to get by, a lot of paperwork, a lot of gotta make money, gotta pay taxes, gotta do this, gotta do that. This creates massive distraction to why we are really here, which is, preacher man, don't tell me heaven is under the earth. This body is the greatest technology ever, and we are here to activate our diamond light body, activate the physicality for higher frequency, and to activate that Merkaba, our light ship Merkaba. And so when we're in the shadow frequency of destruction, then that also is a piece that really keeps us from activating our DNA. And that's why we invited people to do the Declaration of Sovereign and Free, to begin to really acknowledge that there is no structure outside of us, there is no middleman between us and our pure source consciousness. And when people do grid work, they begin to experience a new connection with the physical reality in such a way that we make a stronger connection with the wholeness of who we are. We restore our connection with pure source consciousness by anchoring in through physical work on the grids. And so, wow, this is a cool flower. And there's a bee in it. Very, very cool. Hi, little bee. Okay, so distraction, and this is why we invite people to really begin to go within and give less and less consent to the old world and the old structures, because our true power resides in where we place our focus and intent. And so we lived in a world that for many Westerners really demanded consent inside of a certain game called Monopoly. This love stream is inspiring. Please share it. That's called gifting. And so a lot of us didn't come here to play Monopoly, but that was the system that was indoctrinated to the consciousness through the education system, was to, well, and of course we know from the time we left the hospital, it was all part of the birth certificate process and all those things, but that's old news. The thing is that the consciousness was indoctrinated inside of the game of Monopoly, at least in the Western world systems. And so part of our claiming our sovereign authority is to realize that we don't have to give our consent to Monopoly, to Boardwalk, to Park Place, and to all of those games. And so as we do grid work, and every time we claim that relationship with nature, with the source that gives us life, and just stand in 0 point and coherence, we become more and more powerful, more and more strong. Stronger in our declaration, in our actual physical experience of who we are. And so that is why we invite people to go to these locations on the grids, because they are power points in the grids. Every church, every spiritual religious structure is placed on a power point in the grids of the old structure. And so that's why we invite people to go there and just hold 0 point and let that pure source consciousness come back in to actually open up, activate the cells of the body. Okay, the final stop codon is called vanity. And vanity is about that part inside of the self, the ego consciousness, we could say, that is part of the play. So a metaphor would be like this. Something I love, a metaphor would be something like, if we were all part of, you have to focus on crossing the street. Okay. If we were all part of a play called Cats, and we had all signed a contract to be a part of that play, and the contract had a certain time stamp on it. That's kind of the evolutionary cycle out of the play. But as we often talk about, the 35th gene is the shortcut out of the play. And so, I've got the walk sign. Because the 35th gene is the shortcut out of the play, and the 35th gene, the 35th hexagram, as Ra Uru helped us to understand through human design. And what the I Ching shows is the 35th hexagram is called easy progress. When we are willing to engage with life, not hide away, but participate and engage with life and love it in every way. And what we say, love doesn't mean Hollywood style romantic love. Love is coherence, love is neutrality, because love is really about self-love inside. And what is self-love? Self-love is to learn and remember to how to hold neutrality, how to hold coherence inside of the body, collapse the polarity, collapse the duality. And when we learn how to do that, that 0 points us within. And it literally ends the contract with the external play that we were born into. Most of us, unless you were born at 0 point, most of us were born into designs that had some kind of role or contract. Go down this alley so it's not as windy. Most of us came into some kind of blueprint that had some kind of engagement in the play. And so to end that contract with the play, when we hold neutrality and coherence in such a way, we can zeroize our contract with the play. And that is why it is said that, that is why it is said that the great masters walked in the world, not of it, because they learned how to hold coherence and zeroize their contract in the play. And as we zeroize our contract in the play by just holding coherence, and this is why so many people are having powerful experiences when they go to these locations of the old framework of the old grid system, particularly churches, spiritual centers, etc., because they're at power points in the old contract, power points in the structure of the play of the old contract. And so by holding 0 point, we begin to walk in this world, not of it. And that is the point of liberation, where we truly move into self-creation, because that's really why we came here. We love the expression and the phrase that Esther Hicks uses, which is that we are deliberate creators. We're on the cutting edge of creation as deliberate creators. And to begin to find that place, find that joy of what it means to be a deliberate creator, it requires us to be in a place of coherence such that we can witness the old blueprint running in the body, running in the self, running in the mind, running in the emotional body, running in the physical body, etc. So we can bear witness to the systems that are running inside of the self. And as we hold coherence, we can zeroize those systems, those responses, those triggers, those reactions as well. This is how we become the specialist of our beings and our bodies. And then as we hold coherence, then the question is, well, now what? Now, as we learn to hold that coherence, we become a fertile field for self-creation, self-determination, we become the artist of our creation, the pure source artist of our creation, no longer at the will of unconscious programs running through us. So it's a step-by-step process. All of the transmissions, for anyone who's participated in the online retreats since November, the transmission is very creative, and it comes through in such a way that helps people to learn and see how the egoic mechanism runs. And so sometimes the transmission triggers the egoic mechanism because the transmission is really speaking to the part of us that is beyond the egoic mechanism. And so it's like a spirit giving clues to another spirit how to unlock the DNA, the internal mechanics from the inside out. And to be able to do that, one must be able to hold coherence so that one can bear witness to the mechanisms running inside of the self. As we begin to really experience coherence on all of these levels, the auric field becomes neutralized from polarity. And sometimes that's called the trinitization of the self. We suddenly become a very self-sustaining, energetic field of consciousness. This love stream is inspiring. Please share it. That's called gifting. So then the body, the desire body, is no longer controlling the avatar. And now more of the soma body, the consciousness, the soma consciousness or somatic consciousness can come into the form. And this is where we do become deliberate creators of our creation. And we start to see with our open first eye all of the mechanics that were running the system that we were born into. We start to see clearly behind the veil of, like, the churches. We start to realize what the churches were actually a front for. We won't talk about that here, but we start to see things clearly inside the old reality, and that the old reality that we came from wasn't necessarily designed to assist our advancement in consciousness really easily. And so as we start to see, we start to share our gifts of how we decoded ourselves from the inside out. We begin to share those gifts with others so that others, if they find them, if they choose them, if these decoding mechanisms are aligned, then people can apply the codes and techniques inside themselves to find these greater levels of coherence and these greater levels of how we become deliberate creators of our creation. So we're really at that point. This 4th of July really represented a powerful quantum leap of decode inside. And the thing about DNA that's so amazing is that DNA communicates non-locally. So the DNA inside of us, it doesn't take everyone to decode themselves for all of the collective consciousness to become decoded. Keeping in mind that the DNA inside of us is very connected to the DNA of all life and the DNA of the planetary body. And so for those who are passionate about the quantum capacities within the self, the levitation, teleportation, moving in and out of time and space at will, this becomes a great passion to decode oneself and unlock, as Richard says, the higher purpose in the DNA. The higher purpose in the DNA, although on a blueprint personal level, each person has a specific purpose in their DNA. the highest purpose of Hi, Lovey. I'm just doing a love stream on Facebook right now. Do you want to say hi? Okay, I didn't think you would. Bye, love. The higher purpose inside of the DNA is to turn on the crystalline body, luminosity crystalline. It is to activate the rainbow and diamond light bodies, to activate Creature Man, don't tell me heaven is under the earth. This body is the greatest technology, and that is what we are beginning to unearth as a collective and as the planet goes from terrestrial to celestial. Our alignments with this consciousness, with the crystalline core of Gaia, become very obvious as the true purpose of why we are here. For the consciousness to